Hello, welcome to McBoss Capital Channel. This is Michael Chu here. Today is February 1st, 2025. So this is for the week ending January 31st. So a month has gone by. We did come down in the new year, but then we kind of rebound by the second week and third week. We keep continuing, and then this last week we fell back, and you can see we now back at the red line on the Nasdaq here. So here on the daily chart, you can see we are just sitting right near the short-term moving average, like 10-day, 21-day, and the 50-day. Those three lines right here, green, pink, and red. So we have bounced back from Monday's drop. Again, we did make a video on Monday, Tuesday actually, after the sell-off from the DeepSeek news. A lot of AI chips, powers, type of stocks got hit and spread to a little bit of other areas too, but not too much. We also saw a bounce in software group in general. So also I think some of the Max 7 stocks also did bounce except for Nvidia, I think. So we can look at that near the end of this video. So hopefully most of you didn't get hit too hard on the growth side of stocks for the AI related stuff on that Monday. It was really brutal. I think many stocks drop a lot. We did the video, we show how brutal it was. Now a lot of them has started to bounce back, and some of them are near the halfway mark of the drop. So that's normal. After a big drop, they tend to bounce back to near the short-term moving average. We still see Nasdaq, would go above it decisively on Friday morning, but what happens by the end of the day is very weak. So it could be that this is a new downtrend, right? So we have to be careful, or we can still be going on this uptrend right now, just consolidating near this level before we take off again. So it's normal. It's just testing the patience. Obviously, we have lots of news still. Earnings, a lot of the big cap earnings have reported, but we're gonna have more new earnings coming out like Amazon, Google. So that could affect the market. And obviously, the big tariff news kind of brought the market down on Friday by the you know near the middle of the day. So it can be continue to put a damp on the market in general. So watch out for that. So we did see higher volume selling, on Monday, right? So that was a distribution day, and then on Friday we had this reversal, another ugly day, and again volume turns up higher. So on IBD newspaper, they're showing 7 distribution days for Nasdaq, which is very high, and now we just incur 2 of them in 1 week. So we really have to be cautious here because it looks like this top here starting to look more like a top, and it's definitely losing power even as it comes back near that level. So this is a strong indication that the market is getting weaker. For S&P, we again we have the same pullback from December, mid-December to January, and then we bounce back here 2 weeks in a row and hit new highs. So that was really optimistic. Again, Monday we have this huge gap down, but look at where it closed on Friday, like right in the middle range. So we did find some support on the bounce. So far it looks good. It's above the red line. Looking at the daily chart pattern, again, same thing. It looks not too bad, even though we have a reversal on Friday on higher volume, and then we have Monday also another distribution day, the same thing as Nasdaq. So right now we're back at the 10-day, and again, this is very critical level right here where the red line is 50-day and the short-term 10-day. Like we're getting really close. If we have a breakdown here, I would say there's a high chance we're going down further. If we, because it's starting to find resistance, right? It's I guess what I'm trying to say here. Again, it came close to this previous high, and you can see it just doesn't have the power to even, close near that level, and we got pushed back again. Now maybe it'll resolve itself in a couple of weeks once all the earnings and all this macro news and tariff stuff is gone. But who knows, right? Right now, like I said, the market is super sensitive to any sort of news. Looking at the Dow, also Dow doesn't look too bad at all. You can see it didn't even have on Monday. You can see it actually closed green because even though it hurt all the AI related stuff, it didn't really hurt Dow. But Friday we did have a reversal as well, so that also looks like a distribution day on this index. On the weekly chart, it's 3 weeks up. Actually, it was able to close positive this week, so this is really good news for Dow. Like, we'll see if this can continue. Like, it wants to maybe try to break out. So we'll see. So on the Russell, you can see we have this huge pullback, and then we bounce for 2 weeks. But last week I mentioned the week, was pretty strong in general for other index, but for Russell, I mean, it did come back up to the red line, but the movement is small, right, compared to previous weeks, right? So I'm not sure. And then it kind of find resistance near that line too. So this week it did kind of close slightly below it, but again, it doesn't look too bad. At least on the chart right now, it doesn't look too bad because it's trying to hold on near this red line, right? So this is the IWM. I just want to show the volume. This is the ETF, so it is also higher volume. So because of that reversal, this is also considered distribution day. So on the daily chart, you can see it found resistance near the red line right here. It tested many times. It just couldn't go through it. I don't really like this. The more times you test it and you can't go through it, that means you're losing steam on the buyer side, and it could eventually just drop on this way. Right? Again, Russell, it's been very challenging. I mean, we have so many analysts saying this could be the year, could be the time for the small cap, but it just hasn't happened. Again, with all this tariff news, I'm not sure how much it will hurt like smaller business. Probably not as much as the big guys because they're the one who do exports and stuff. But but I mean, small business could do imports, exports too. So we'll see. There could be some problem there. Looking at the IBD Innovative IBD 50 here. So on Monday we have a huge gap down. So again, the growth stocks get hammered here. At least the ones that are AI related. Then we have a bounce, and again, this bounce looks like exactly like the Nasdaq chart. So it did climb back above the short-term moving average, but then you see where it closed right on Friday. So again, it's more at the neutral zone right now, like near the middle point. It could go either way. It could go down or it could go up in the next week. We have no idea which way it will go, or it could stay on this line here for a few more days before it makes it move. We'll see, right? This market is so sensitive in news right now. So with that being said, let's jump to the WIX CBOE volatility index here. We have this huge gap out on Monday, and I think it jumped like 20% that day. So anyhow, so it's not near the previous high, but it is intermediate term type of volatility. You can see it's near that level there. And then we have the higher levels here. So we'll see what happens. But right now it looks like it has came back down to the lows here, and then but it did bounce back on Friday a little bit. So nothing too crazy yet. But again, uh, we could get more news from the new Trump administration and see how things go. So besides the DeepSeek news this week and all the earnings, we also have this GDP a little bit cool off more than the expected. So now it's at 2.3%. But it's still pretty good growth over 2%. Then we have consumer spending actually came up at 4.2%, so that's also a good sign from the consumer perspective. And then we have the PCE inflation gauge here on the core PCE at 2.5%. So again, it's okay. I think it was as expected, so nothing out of ordinary here. So on the New York Stock Exchange events decline line here from IBD newspaper, we can see it's pretty stable in general. Like so, there's not too many going up or too many going down. It just seems to be quite stable here. So that's actually a good sign. So the longer it stays sideways, it gives it a chance to set up the momentum for the next run. So hopefully that can come true. And then on the tech side, Nasdaq. Also pretty stable. I mean, it didn't just drop off like, I mean, it's kind of holding pretty tight here. Like rather than something like this where it just comes straight down. So we haven't seen that yet, but who knows, right? Monday, who knows how market will react if there's a tariff and all that stuff. So that could be challenging. So the one good thing is the 10-year yield has been coming back down slowly after it hit 4.8% at the high here. Now we close off on Friday at 45.69. We did have a bounce here, but we do have a short-term resistance line here, so we'll see what happens there. So the dollar has been rebounding since Monday. It looks like, I don't know how much tariff will play into the dollar, but definitely against Canadian dollar and Mexico peso, it could make a difference. So more likely they'll, US dollar will gain strength if they did put a tariff against those countries. So this is like almost setting up to, a trend line breakout here. So if it does go up here, it could move really fast, especially with this tariff news. The oil price have been slowly drifting down since almost 2 weeks ago. So yeah, so a lot of energy, like oil and gas stocks have starting to give back quite a bit. So we did fall below the short-term 10 and 21 day. So that's not a good sign. Right now we're getting close to where the 50 and 200 day are meeting right now down here. So yeah, so far this is not a good sign. So next week we have construction spending and auto sales on Monday, factory orders figures on Tuesday, and the January final S&P US Services PMI reading on Wednesday. And then we have the big job report on Friday. Econ analysts expecting 256,000 jobs added according to Econoday. Then we also have more earnings coming up. Palantir will be reporting Amazon, Google, and Uber. Those are high priority names. The one news I forgot to mention is the Fed obviously on Wednesday announced they're not decreasing rates. It just stay where it is right now, and it's more likely to stay till mid-year like that. So yeah, so that didn't make the market move too much one way or the other. Looking at the IBD signals here is still between 60 and 80% allocation. So we did have the two distribution days here, which is now Nasdaq has 7 and S&P have 5. So again, not a good sign because distribution days is a form of like sign that maybe the institutions are selling because it came in a higher volume and index dropped quite a bit. However, on the accumulation distribution side, we're still seeing positive. So on the stock side, we're seeing more stocks are getting bought, accumulated 288 ending Friday. It was pretty stable the whole week. And then here, even on Monday, despite the sell-off in AI stock, we also saw lots of stocks being bought. So that's one thing I'll talk about in my growth stock list, and I'll talk more about like what is being rotated and how things have changed, and whether the AI related stocks still have any power. On the industry group side, again similar, we're seeing also more accumulation. So again, the market is still doing well in general. On the sector side, you can see we started out the week pretty weak because of the sell-off in technology, and then obviously some of the AI power stocks related to industrial area, and then we have also energy also selling off pretty much the whole week here. So industrial energy have been not doing as well, and then financials doing okay. Like you can see, they're holding up pretty well. And the tech side, there's still some accumulation, not as strong as early in the week. And then the retail side has kind of really, given back quite a bit by the end of the week. So not too much accumulation by then. So this is gold. Gold bullion did have a really nice week this week. So definitely some stocks are moving really nicely. You can see we make new high this week as well on the gold price. So something to pay attention to. Just to go back on the Nasdaq equal weight 100, the chart looks not bad. Like it tries to break out right here. You can see it came back. So again, this is it's still intact the uptrend, right? We still have this uptrend intact. But like I said, we need to see a bounce right away. Otherwise, just go the other way. On the equal weight S&P 500, it's just holding tight here. And then it reversed on Friday, but after hitting a new intraday high. So we'll see what happens here. Again, same thing. We need to hold this level, and we need to bounce it off right away and make new high and continue that rally. So we're going to jump to the next 7 and looking at the semiconductor group first. This is, we saw this long base building here, just couldn't come out. It finally came out, but it fell, right? So that's very negative. Then we have this gap down on Monday, so that also hit the new lows right here. So now we have two problems. We have gap down from a reversal from a high, and then we have a gap down to a new low. So this has, went like 360-degree basically, right? We went from really bullish to now super bearish. And then again, it is expected after such a big drop, it could bounce back to the short-term moving average, and it did. It bounced back, and then look what happened. Now it got reversed again. This is like, a very typical formation in a downtrend. So we now have see, if this is the recent top here, so we're gonna have one top here and another top here that constitute a downtrend, and this could keep going down, right? Obviously, it could, the next day, Monday, if maybe if nothing happens with the tariff, maybe it's gonna come back up, and that's possible too. So, but right now the trend is not good. After this reversal, it's almost like a sell signal, especially against those short-term moving averages, right? Vice versa, if it was bouncing off the short-term moving average, that's also a buy signal, right? But this is the opposite. So Nvidia looks very terrible. I mean, this chart just, as good as the stock fundamentals are, maybe the story has changed. I don't know, but the technicals are showing a completely negative, type of stock right now. So similar, we went from the lows to the highs here of this range, and then we failed to break out. This is the second time, right? This is the second time, and then we gap down, and then same thing. We hit a new low right here. Now look at this rebound. This is very different than even the SMH, right? Like the rebound, like basically went sideways instead of coming back to the 10-day. It never even come close to it. Like, I mean, on the chart it might look close, but really it never did from a price perspective. The rebound was on the next day after the big drop, which was like almost 9% here. $129 is the high, and then since that high we haven't come back to it. On Friday we tried to, but it came to 127 and 85 cents. So again, we're short of the previous high, and we didn't even come close to this 10-day moving average. So now we are clearly in the downtrend, and the slope is pretty steep. You can see this trend line I draw right here. So if we hit a new low, and like let's say next week we break this new low, like it could hit hard, because now more people realize this is now actually in no support area no more, because we are now below the black line, 200-day moving average. We are below all the short-term moving average. So this is officially becoming almost like a bear market stock, right? So we gotta be very careful about Nvidia, what's happening right now. Despite what has happened in the past, it has come a long way, right? I think that's something that most people forget. It has come a long way during the 02 October bottom, and now we have come a long way. We have gained a lot, and now it might be time for a consolidation, before the next move. I'm not sure, right? But I'm just saying, it has come a long way, and you can see the time frame is about 2 years and a little bit. So that's exactly where it was last time, and same thing right here. So just something to be mindful of, right? Like, of course, this can still be the future star, but right now, after all these gains, it's possible that we are going into a more severe correction. Well, I already hear many people's mind probably spinning around, like saying, Michael, why would it go into correction? It is the leader in AI. If this goes into correction, wouldn't all the other AI stocks goes into correction too? Yeah, it's possible. I don't know, right? It's possible that all the AI related stocks could go into a correction mode, while other stocks are going to pick up the slack. And maybe that's what this year is going to look like. I don't know, right? I mean, in 2022, I think a lot, no, 2021, a lot of stocks actually top on the growth side in February, right? So right here, February, like it didn't do much. Like, if you go look at, so yeah, I can't remember all the names, but a lot of stocks didn't actually move here during the 21 time frame. So just yeah, beware, like, things could be different. Uh, we'll see. Okay, so let's look at the software group. This week it actually closed near a little bit down, and we are at the red line. Considering what has happened on Monday, and let's just show what happens on Monday right here. It's definitely higher volume. So it closed 50% range. What that means is on that day's bar movement, it closed at 50%. So that's not bad, right? Like, it's not at the bottom. So again, basically what we're saying is there's a bounce that day, right? Instead of closing near the low, it's a bounce that day. But that day, I remember clearly, as a lot of the chip stocks and AI related chip stocks and power stocks that sold off, we saw a lot of software stocks actually, gap down, but it all bounced back. Like, some of them even went green, right? So that was very impressive. That really caught my attention, and right away I was able to rotate into those stocks instead of staying with the chip and power stocks. Of course, a lot of them I could stop out, but but that being said, like I said, I could stay in cash, but because of that rotation, I was moving money into the software group. Now, what happened since then? We have a bounce, nice bounce on Tuesday. That was the high on this week, and then on Wednesday, Thursday, give back, and then on Friday, it bounced back above it, but then it closed near the red line again. So this one is kind of a neutral zone, at least for the group, the whole group. So meaning not every stock is doing good, right? Like there's some stocks that bounce back, but there's also stocks that comes down. So I think I got a few stocks that stopped out in the software group too. So but overall, I think it's still better, way better than the chips area. In fact, I think the chips area didn't bounce back too much. So that's another problem, right? And then the power group, again, we'll go into more analysis in the stock growth stock list video. Please make sure you follow and subscribe to that and get notification on it when it comes out. But yeah, I didn't see too many of the power stocks bounce back, right? Except one or two. I mean, they bounce back, but again, they're not like really strong bounce. Like they're just coming back to the halfway point, which is really normal. And then if it start going down again, then that forms a downtrend, right? Which we'll show in that video. So obviously, Nvidia still reporting in a couple of weeks or something like that, 3 weeks from now. But Microsoft has reported, and it was disappointing. We saw a big gap down right here, and I'm really disappointed in Microsoft. They're the leader in potentially AI, new revenue generation, but they just couldn't deliver. I think they did mention it's now, I can't remember the exact number, like 12% or something of the cloud service revenue. So it is growing, but it just hasn't really make a dent or anything. And anyhow, yeah. So the chart is kind of broken, right? We have this nice, kind of cup base, like handle a little bit, and then we bounce back right here really strong, and then we have this gap down. So now we have lots of problems because we have such a huge gap down. It's going to be lots of resistance area even if we do come back, right? But the worst of all, if it doesn't come back and we break this trend line down here, we could in for another big drop, and that could test this low right here. So anyhow, just be mindful. Like I don't know what's going to happen right now. It's probably a little bit oversold because it's just so far away from the 10-day, right? So it could, but again, Friday's action, we'll see if this forms a bottom. It's testing the lows twice now, so it could bounce back and then before it goes back further down. So let's see what happens. Let's talk about another stock that reported. Meta actually did really well. You can see right here. So it broke out right here on the pullback. It bounced, breakout, then pulled back to the 10-day, and right now it's finding strong support at that 10-day. You can see the slope is doing really well. And it's on like I don't know 8 days straight now going up. Yeah, this is definitely doing well compared to other mega caps. So the earnings are, slowing down. So, it's not on my list, but you can see, the numbers has been positive. The sales are pretty stable, right? So, but it is slowing down, so that's why it's not on my list. But right now, it looks like it wants to run, so there could be another rally ahead here. So Google chart looks pretty good. You can see it's starting to break out right now on this formation here. You see the higher lows here. That's really promising. And then we have the highs here. Like it did test many times, but it looks like this time it works. It did fall through. Volume also came in. And of course, they're reporting this coming week, so we'll see. Again, the big story here is whether their Gemini integration into their search engine is now, how is that going, right? Because they now put it on desktop, and on mobile I haven't seen yet, but on desktop you can see like Gemini answers at the top. How is that doing? Is it okay? Like, is the revenue still okay? Like, meaning it's not cannibalizing any of the clicks and ads revenue. So let's see how that goes. Like, I mean, this could be something really, Google is probably by far the lowest PE out of the Max 7. And so a lot of analysts like this stock just for that reason. But the other thing that I really consider more is what if they can get going, right, with Gemini on the search engine? Because no one else doing that. And because they're the leader in search and they're able to use AI and still able to maintain their revenue, that's really good. Like that's surprisingly good, right? That reminds me of when Apple, switched to low-end price model. Like everyone's worried, like, oh, no one's gonna buy the high-end models. Instead, that I mean, there's probably little bit of people who won't buy the high-end or more and just to the low end. But what happened was they spread to more countries and was able to sell to lower price model even more. So I hope maybe Google will be able to capitalize on even future potential with the Gemini AI, right, on the search. Maybe they can find ways to even monetize more. I'm not sure. But right now, as long as it doesn't cannibalize, that's good. So I don't know if there's any news on Amazon, but you can see this chart is really nice, like very tight trend. And look at this volume bars. Like you can see all the blue volume are much higher than the red volume. So there's some accumulation happening, and this is a nice formation. Let's go to a weekly chart. Yeah, look how tight this area is on the weekly chart. Like it's really tightened up from this formation here, and and the red line is not too far off the 50-day, 10-week moving average. The numbers are pretty strong. Look at this 40% growth, and the stable revenue stream. So last week we talked about Apple and how it went from the strongest stock, good-looking stock to on the mega cap 7, and now looking very bad. It did rebound this week on earnings. Well, before the earnings, it did rebound, and then on the earnings day, it reversed after moving higher. So here's the gap up on earnings, but pretty much this was a sell on the news event. Like they did not have any bounce whatsoever. And now this chart, if you omit this gap, this gap up here, you pretty much, have this downturn, bounce to this 50-day right here, and then found resistance, and it looks like it's heading this way. So just something to be cautious of. Whenever we see a reversal from a high, that's always a dangerous signal. It's almost like a change in direction, especially if it's a reversal on higher volume. So this is pretty high volume too. So just something to be aware of. Just turn ugly. So looking at Tesla, I think they did deliver worse numbers than expected. And initially the stock was down quite a bit after hours, but it did was able to kind of come back and jiggle around and stuff, and not close too bad. Um, Overall the numbers are still positive going forward. You can see here, and on the sell side is actually increasing as well. So overall the numbers are still okay, but like I said, they did miss all the numbers, which is a good thing. They miss all the numbers, but still able to hold up the red line here. So it's just almost like eating time right now, right? Because there is still a very wide, still quite above the 200-day as it catch up. But this is starting to catch up now, the red line. And like I said, this week it was able to hold, right, hold above it, and all the short-term moving average. So I took my first position on Friday, but I had to sell some by the end of the day because it reversed. So we'll see how it goes. Officially it's still in a downtrend because it failed to stay above that trend line on Friday. So again, I don't like reversals. Reversals tend to be really ugly if they fail. So I don't want to see this look like this later on and regret not selling out. So yeah, I have a tight stop right here. So we'll see what happens here. So in my next video, I'll talk more about my growth stock list. Obviously, earnings coming out for many stocks, they're gonna keep changing, and so that's why I'm gonna go over the ones that did well, the ones that didn't go well, and which ones are still maintaining their leadership and so forth. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe.